Hello creative friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Heather with the Myriad Maker. Today's video is a DIY, basically combining two garments into one better fitting garment. So the background here is I have this gray button down that it's just too tight in the sleeves. It's a common problem that I have these days. And I have this old gray sweatshirt that is a little bit too small, but the sleeves are actually kind of okay. So what I thought I would do is just basically utilize the sleeves from the sweatshirt and put it on the button down and have a kind of mixed media button-up shirt. So that's basically what I did. It's pretty straightforward alteration. I didn't do any additional alterations to the body. I probably could have. I mean, to be honest, the body of the garment is a little bit tight, but it's also something I probably would wear with like a t-shirt or a tank underneath, so I don't know that I would actually wear it buttoned up. I'd probably wear it more as like a second layer, so I'm not too fussed by the fact that when I button it, it's too tight. So my process here was pretty straightforward. The first thing I did was remove the sleeves from the button down. There's a lot of DIYers that cut things apart, and I do that occasionally, and actually I did that with the sweatshirt sleeves, but I don't do that for everything. So I always think through how much seam allowance I need, and that's, I think, just a good guiding principle for anyone who's doing alterations or DIY. You always have to think about your seam allowance. For the button down, I actually, sat down and ripped out the seam, which was a total pain because it was flat felled and it was serged on the inside, so it just took forever to get those darn sleeves off. But at least with the sweatshirt, I didn't need to do that. I could just cut those off. And my plan with the sweatshirt, because the sweatshirt was a raglan and my button down is a set-in, I wanted to be able to use as much of the sleeve height as I possibly could from, or the sleeve length, I should say, from the raglan. I cut it off all the way through the neckline, then used the original sleeve as a pattern so that I could kind of get the general shape. And then my plan was whatever was left over, if it was a little bit too wide, rather than modifying the sleeve, I would just ease that in and have like a slight bit of ruching at the shoulder tip. So here's a sewing tip for you. If you're new to sewing, or even if you're an experienced sewer, one of the things I learned a long time ago that has stuck with me for decades is use your machinery to its best advantage, meaning when you are sewing something that you maybe need to gather in a little bit, put that fabric down towards the feed dogs. Now, I don't always do this, but most of the time I do. And the reason is that when you have your less stable fabric on the underside, the feed dogs do most of the work for you. And I've had more success with this over the years. And there are times where I will have the less stable fabric on the top side. It all comes down to how much I need to control the fabric versus how much the machine can do some of the work for me. So just a little tip as you're working on your own projects. Don't waste your time fighting your machine. Try to figure out how to make the machine do the harder work for you. So I sewed the sleeve into the armhole, and then just utilizing the kind of shading from where the original stitching was, I restitched the top stitching around as well. So when all is said and done, it actually looks almost intentional. So that's it. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you next time.